there. This is Linda Lysakowski, part of the Unsung and Unstoppable team who is working on trying to get stories of smaller and maybe some newer nonprofits out there because all the big nonprofits are the ones you hear about all the time. And we know that there's a lot of really great heroes in this world. And Cindee is one of them. So I'm going to introduce you to Cindee Sapzonik. And she has started an organization called 2MyPlace. And I think it's really interesting a concept. And we'll invite you later on to share the website so you can see what it's all about if you're into those details. But mainly we're here to talk about the human side of this. So I would like Cindee to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this and what made you see a need for this organization in your community. So Cindee, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. Um, I had worked in corporate for 35 years, and upon retirement in 2007, I decided, where am I going to be best fit? Where should I go? What should I do? I started volunteering at different homeless shelters, schools, after school programs, and just started to take some courses, picking up from when I was in college a very long time ago, on the psychology of teenagers, teens, and young adults. And in 2013, I became a certified life coach. I got my certification because I found that people appreciate letters after your name for some reason. That makes you more professional or more knowledgeable. So I became a life coach. It's a life and career coach. And in 2016, I opened up To My Place.
Hmm.
We opened it up with the vision of having a facility, having a place for kids to come after school, on the weekends, to really just be. Uh, there's too much stress in this world, as we know, and a lot of them can't really find their places, and it's hard. So we just started reaching out to high schools, middle schools, talking with teenagers, having workshops, and finding out what it is that you want and what it is that you need. I volunteer, as do many of the people on my board and within the organization. We're all volunteers. It is a nonprofit. And that really is the word that boggles everybody because it's very difficult to get money for something that is not, as you said, one of the larger nonprofits. We don't have the money behind us. And so our funding, I think we've always begun to call it begging instead of funding. And we've gotten ourselves a name within the community. We volunteer, as I said, in high schools. I volunteer at a job, well, two of us at a job networking event. I run the interview workshops where we have about 200 people every 2 weeks at this ministry that is run. And again, it ties into life skills because, for instance, asking on a resume, tell me a little bit about yourself. When we're talking with teenagers, they don't know really anything about themselves. And so I just carried it into adults, and surprisingly enough, neither do adults. I think that we're very used to defending ourselves, our choices, our clothes, our haircuts, our friends, instead of saying, I'm smart, I'm confident, I'm trustworthy, I'm worth it, I bring value. So one of our major, we start every program with is an exercise called I am. And they have to fill in superlative one words about themselves. And we don't talk about negative things. We just want them to be at peace with who they are and the truth of who they are.
That's
In
great.
2017, I got involved with sex trafficking. And that's when the organization just started to flourish because it's a major topic, as we all know. And I worked with about 15 women that were in a rehabilitation recovery center, also a nonprofit. And I was the coach, I was their life coach that they could trust. And that's really what all they wanted to do. They wanted to um, find someone who could trust, they could trust, and find a place where they could gain their confidence back and, find their loyalty. And so I became very involved with one of the young women, and it's sort of the rest was history. We got extremely involved with her for 5 years, and I'll talk about that when you want me to. Um, so that's how we got started. We never quite made the facility, but I do have an office, and the kids do come here.
I was chuckling when you said couple things that you said really struck home with me when you mentioned that you came from the corporate world. I have to tell you a funny story because I also came from the corporate world. I was in banking for 11 years. And when I decided to leave banking and go work for a nonprofit as a fundraiser, people literally said to me, "Are you crazy?" and,
Mhm.
and so one of the early books I wrote was Fundraising as a Career. What, are you crazy? Because that's exactly what people said to me. Why would anybody want to go to work for a nonprofit and asking for money? This is really ridiculous. So I was curious if, like me, if you found that your corporate experience really helped you with this nonprofit.
Absolutely. As I said, I was there for 35 years. I was in pharmaceutical sales and my sales being the key word. And that, of course, is a part of psychology. And I learned how to work with people who were not like me, how to gain entrance into different offices and whatever. By flirting, I guess you can call it, because when I first started in this business, it was all men. And, they would come in with emery boards and hand lotion. And I was one of the first four women throughout the country, all companies, um, to get into pharmaceutical sales. And so I was 22 years old, fresh out of college,
Hmm.
and it was different. It was a fabulous career, but yes, I did learn how to listen, which I think is the most important part of any nonprofit or anybody that you're really working with. We all want to talk and we want to tell them what we think and what we know and what we feel, but our job is truly to listen to what they think and that they feel, and so we can help them that way.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I always tell people is they're always, all nonprofits are eager to get out there and tell their story. And that's one of the reasons we invited you to be a part of Unsung and Unstoppable. But I always tell people, storytelling is one thing, but it's more important to think about story listening, that to
Mhm,
listen to the other person's story. And
mhm,
if you do, you'll probably find that, and maybe you have already found this, that begging for money isn't really, I chuckled when you said that term because I always think people think that you're out there begging for money, but when you run an organization that's changing lives the way
mhm,
you do, you shouldn't have to beg for money. I mean, people, when they hear your story and are able to tell their story, should probably be very supportive of you. But I'm sure in the early days you had a lot of challenges, especially trying to raise money for a new organization. And I know that's really hard. So tell us about some of the challenges that you faced early on in this process.
One of them, of course, was funding. The second was getting volunteers, because we didn't have the money, who wanted to be a part of the mission, wanted to work with the kids. Um, yes, our goal was to make a difference. And if we could make a difference in one person's life, that was great. Um, we surround ourselves, and I will say maybe five out of the 12 or 15 people that we've been involved with over the years on the board, there are there's a foundation of a strong five of us. and they will reach out to their connections and their businesses and their organizations. And then when we go into the schools, we're always promoting different workshops, different classes, especially for what that school is looking for. So the challenges really are just keeping it afloat, with very small donations, but nonetheless donations. And when we come in contact within the community, and get our story gets to be heard a little bit more, it helps them, especially the people on our board, to promote it also. But we're affiliated with this group, we're affiliated with that group, and so it makes it more palpable, I guess you can say, for the people that we're working with.
Mm. I'm sure that probably people may have said to you the same thing they said to me, are you crazy? But did you ever get the feeling that maybe you were a little bit crazy and then you should just abandon this whole idea, or did you always feel that you could do it?
So, Linda, I'll be real honest with you. I've been crazy since I was a kid.
Well, we're sisters under the skin because I have to.
So it wasn't something new. If there was a chance to be taken, I took it. Um, and I don't know that I felt crazy. I felt that I was answering a need, and that was what was filling my heart. I found kids that needed support. I was asked by many different friends, would you do me a favor and work with my son? Would you work with my boyfriend? Would you work with my girlfriend? Help them learn to like themselves. And it sort of came easier for me, not because I had the training to do that, but I think we've all come through some kind of choppy childhoods. And I don't know, that's really a good word to call that. Um, and I always I wished for someone to be my friend, be my sister. This is a saying that I've always had. Be the person that you needed most when you were growing up. And so I became my sister because she was not available to me. And so in all the relationships that I had with the kids, I was their sister. And so I wasn't a therapist and I wasn't a counselor and I wasn't a mentor or a coach, but I was someone who was there for them to open up and let me talk. It's interesting that you say, are you crazy? Because one of the names of the programs that we have, with sex trafficking is Not in My Neighborhood. Oh, yes, it is.
Right.
And people that are in denial with whatever, whether it's the current events or whether it's just who they are and their personalities, their hardships, and their talents. We just want them to get stronger and less vulnerable, I guess, so
I
they
love
can
that.
become confident.
I love that saying, not in your neighborhood. Yes, it is, because I think that's so true of a
Mhm.
lot of different organizations, people that serve the homeless. I know I lived in a community where people said, we don't have homeless in this town. It's a small town. And one night a man froze to death on the park bench and they said, oh, we have homeless people. I mean, it was just like eye-opening. I don't know if you've had anything like that happen where you've seen a community change their mind and say, yes, it is in our neighborhood. We didn't realize it, but now we know it's here. Have you had any of those
Oh,
experiences?
yes, a lot of them. Um, uh, One of the nonprofits that I worked with for 5 years, volunteer. Whenever I say work, Linda, it's volunteered.
Right.
I work at volunteering. Um, One of the nonprofits was 6 months. They would have single mothers and their families stay with them. And what I learned there was that these kids, they were living in their cars. Um, Either it was a single parent, but they were having to go into McDonald's to get washed in the morning and wear the same clothes into school. And the mothers were going through their own trauma, yes. Um, the younger kids were being taken care of. And the teenagers were sort of out on a limb all the time. They didn't want to go to school. They had the same clothes on. They probably had an odor about them. And so my job when I walked in there was, can I create a teen program? And that's what I did there. Um, and I was theirs. I was their mentor. I was their, you can make this, you can do this. The wonderful part about this was um, one of the girls that I met there, who was there with her mother and her sister, she was very troubled and it was very difficult for her. It was difficult for everybody. Um, she is now on my board, and she was 13 then, and she is 28 now.
Oh, oh my goodness.
And so, if we can change one life, we're doing a good job.
That's very true. I love the concept that you have about having them do an exercise that says I am, because from what just from listening to you, I can see that many teenagers, and I probably should remember this from my own teenage years, but I think many teenagers today, especially, are not sure who they are. So
Right.
that alone, that exercise alone, I think would make a big difference in people have. Could you tell us any stories about people who have completed that and been surprised about who they are?
Um, Everybody is very surprised, and it's
Really?
very difficult for them to say positive things about themselves. They never have, really. I mean, we've always been in defense of, why are you wearing that? And why is your hair like that? And why are you hanging out with those people instead of, wow, you look fabulous today and you're doing such a good job. And the positive feedback thing, I don't know where it stopped because I know I had it during my childhood and I think we all had it. But I think everybody became very busy and disconnected because of the internet. And everyone, all the teenagers, all the kids are comparing themselves to people on their screen and who's wearing this. Well, she wears it, I can wear that for a job interview or something like that. Well, I have an activity that we do when I go in the schools. I have this very cushy, funky little ball, and I say in front of the room, I'm going to say something nice about myself. I am, and give them a word. And when I throw the ball to you, I want you to say something nice about yourself too.
Oh, that's a
And
great idea.
it was wonderful. And it was funny because we started off with, I am empathetic. And I threw the ball to this one kid, and he goes, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And I said, you just spent 10 minutes telling us what a great soccer player you are. Why don't you say you're a great soccer player? So by the end of the class, and we went around to the counselors that were in the room. There were like 35 kids and counselors, and the counselors commented after that they never knew this about the kids. I said, you just have to give them the platform and they'll talk, as long as we don't have an expectation on them of what they should say.
Yeah, that's so true. When I know starting a nonprofit is a huge endeavor and a big project. I know you mentioned two things that you're always looking for, funding and volunteers, but did you have any really major obstacles in the process, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
Um, there is competition, I think you can say.
Mm.
I don't really call it competition, but the people who know me feel that it's competition. And so they have to find something to do that is like this, or um, something else that they can sort of interfere with. So again, I don't like to call it competition because the more the merrier. The more people we can get out there helping kids, I don't care what you do and where you live and how you run your programs, as long as we can help somebody. Um, I think that people have to understand the population that they're trying to work with, and it's not about them. And are they going to be a success with their organization? I don't think I ever felt that. Um, it was just an off, huh? I'm sorry.
That's amazing because most organizations, like you said, they do measure their success and how many people they serve. And I think you're measuring your success more in the changes that you see in the
Yes.
kids' lives. It just sounds incredible. But I wanted to go back to the sex trafficking because I think that's such a big issue in
Mhm.
our country today and in many countries, not just our country. But tell me a little bit more about how you got into that and what you've seen change, if anything, in that scenario.
If you go to the website, there is an in memoriam about Jessica. Jessica was the young woman I met at this recovery center where they are taken from jails, and we work with the people in the jails. A friend of mine works with Inside Out Jail Ministry in Orlando, Florida, and she goes into the jails and asks them, do you want to get out and be rehabilitated, or do you want to just stay here and go back into the world that you're in? And so Jessica was sent to the rehab place in Atlanta, and I happened to be the coach there. I walked in, Linda, and there was like 12 to 15 girls around the table. They had just been rescued, so the 2 weeks new.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I walked in, and there's this very large, upset looking person sitting at the table like this. And she had tattoos up to here, and she had a grill on her teeth, and she was not in good shape. And I was looking at her, and she said, well, what's the matter with you? And I said, I'm from New Jersey, and not a lot scares me, but you're scaring the crap out of me. And she said, you're not so hot yourself, honey. So we became immediate friends. And the good part of being a coach, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, so I don't have to report what it is that they say to me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just there to gain their confidence and let them know that they're safe. So that was Jessica, and we carried on our friendship, our relationship. I became her surrogate mother, her mentor, her teacher, her friend. Her mother had put her on the street when she was 8.5 years old for
Oh
drug
my
money,
gosh.
and she was pregnant when she was 12
Ah,
and had an abortion, and then she was pregnant when she was 16 and had a baby. And once you're in that life, it's very difficult to get out without the threats of death on your family and whatever. So she was in it until she was 27.
mm,
And then she got out. And that's when I met her. She spoke at the White House. She spoke for UPS. She spoke for Delta Airlines.
mm.
She was an energy of, I want to help people so they don't go down the path that I did. And we don't know about who was abused in childhood. I mean, now when we're speaking to our friends or whatever, they're going to remember something, and maybe they've been in therapy their whole lives. Maybe they've just decided to, bury it, whatever the case may be. But she brought about a wake-up call to a lot of people of don't keep it a secret. Don't be quiet. Um, and then she was the energy behind To My Place for about 5 years.
Really? Wow.
Um, oh yeah, she went back to Orlando for something. I don't remember what, but you're never supposed to return to the place of the crime.
Right.
And her mother had just gotten out of prison and came and shot her up with fentanyl and killed her.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
So there's she always would say to me, and I smile when I talk about her because the situation was horrible. Um, but there's that song For Good. There's a reason that I met you, and you changed my life more than I changed yours.
Mm.
And she always used to say that to me. She would say, I know that you think you're teaching me all these things and all this whatever, but I think I'm teaching you more. I said, for sure. I never knew about this.
Wow.
And so we do smile. And as I say, please visit the website, go to the memorial end of it for Jessica. And there's a video you can watch and see. Um, you'll see her energy through the video. And that's what got us into sex trafficking.
Mm. I wanted to remind people if they're looking for your website, it's two, the number two,
Yes,
not TO, but
no,
the number two,
all
myplace.org.
one word, to
You know,
myplace.org.
as somebody said, no slashes, no dashes, no
Right,
no
right.
capitals, or you don't have to worry
No,
about anything. Just put that to your to my
to
place,
my
and
place.
because I
And
think
that's
it's
that's
just
what I wanted the kids to say when they were going to therapy. Where you're going? I'm going to my place.
mhm.
And that was my connection with the name.
Yeah, I love that. And I keep wanting to say your place, and I
I
know
know.
because it's yours.
It is my
I
place.
it's your place, but I certainly urge everybody to check out your website because it's really incredible to see these stories. And I know when I heard and saw that story of Jessica, I just, I think I was in tears for quite a while after seeing that somebody's own mother could do something like that. But I have a friend who was abused by her mother,
Mhm.
and she's still in therapy at the age of probably going on 70. So I think it's really a thing that we do tend to say when you mentioned that, not in my neighborhood. I think that's so we don't want to turn our backs to these kind of issues, and we
Mhm.
need your organizations and organizations like this to open our eyes to
Mhm.
see that, maybe our lives are all hunky-dory, but not everybody's is. So,
And I question the ones who think they're hunky-dory, Linda.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think too many of us are hunky-dory all the
I don't think so
time.
either. I think they've learned how to hide it a little bit better,
Yeah.
for better or for worse.
I think you might be right. What obviously I don't think you ever really got to the stage where you thought you were going to close this place up because you couldn't go any further. I think you've always had the feeling that, yeah, this is important and it's necessary. So I don't think you ever really felt like you wanted to give up, did you?
No, I don't want to give up. I do want to get more people interested in it because I am older and I would, we've started a training program with some of the people on the board for what to do to get our programs into the schools, who to talk to, what to say. I do a lot of speaking engagements. Um, uh, I'm doing one this Sunday and next Sunday. So, and it's on sex trafficking awareness. Um, I don't want to close it because there's going to be that one person.
Right.
And we'll keep it open for as long as we can.
Good. That's encouraging. So what what are your hopes going forward? What would you like to see this organization become eventually?
I would like to see some of the people that are so talented on the board and so involved with the mission and believe in it to take a stand, learn what it is, and for them to, that's my legacy, for them to carry on what I've created, and then become the speakers and then become the advocates. And they all have these qualities.
Great.
It's just a time thing, I think, with everybody. And so if we have one thing, we got time, Linda. So,
But it's limited, huh?
yes, yes.
So have you ever thought about maybe branching out and having more communities do something like this? Have you been approached by people?
Um, yes, I have thought about it. There are people, especially in the sex trafficking world, there are people who think that they are the sex trafficking gurus, especially in the community I'm in. And again, we're talking about competition. A lot of people want their own poles.
Mhm.
I don't know how to say that nicely, but they hold on to their own poles and
Mhm.
I'm that person. I'm good at this. I can do this, Oh, we don't need anybody else. Um, I will, I will mix and match with anybody who asks us to. One of the things that we're very proud about is that we have decided to call ourselves a clearinghouse for professional services for our youth.
Mhm.
And we connect and support all the organizations, all the companies that deal with recovery, rescue, rehabilitation, um, and by getting them counselors, trauma therapists, workshops, business ethical leaders, addiction therapists, whatever they need. And it may not be them, it may be someone in their family,
Mhm.
but we will make the connections. And it's not just through this town that I live in. We'll make the connections through with different organizations in Texas, Florida, North Carolina. Um, where else are we? Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so
Well,
we will
maybe
we will
someday
do that.
you'll
I don't want
be
to
nationwide.
well, I don't want to merge with anybody because somebody wants to take everything over and change the rules.
Right.
I tried that at one point and
Oh, did you?
I did. I went very willingly in with this other organization and it was a horrible experience. And so I said, thank you very much. I'm out.
Oh, well, that's a good lesson for people to be careful and cautious if they do. I mean, sometimes it makes sense to merge, but other times it probably doesn't. I wanted to just ask you before we wrap up. I know you're involved with the Rotarians, and I'm sure we probably have some Rotarians in our audience, and maybe they're not even aware of the Rotary Club that you are working with. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I got coerced into joining because I'm not a Rotarian kind of person. However, during COVID, I found that a friend of mine, who, well, he was on the board, um, told me he was a Rotarian, still is, told me I should join this new club that was in 2021.
Hmm.
And what is it? It's an international online e-club. So we meet the second and fourth Thursdays every month,
Hmm.
and it's international. So I'm on the programs and projects committee where we go through the grants that people are asking for or for us to back their organization and who are they, what do they do. So we're aligned there with many different large organizations, A21, Love 146, Street Grace is a local but large. Again, we're involved with education and awareness and prevention. So if we can get to the demand, the traffickers, the pimps, if we can get to them, then we won't have to keep supplying them with the kids.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because the numbers, if you see them, of missing kids annually in each state, in each country, is crazy.
Hmm.
It's
And
just
it's
crazy.
and it's Rotarians
It's the
against.
Rotary Club, RCEHT, the Rotary Club to End Human Trafficking.
Okay, great. I think that's certainly worthwhile. And the fact that it is an e-club is really unique because people don't have to go
Mhm.
traipsing off to a meeting every week or something.
And be
But
walked in and be judged.
right. Well, judgment is probably something that it's maybe causing some of this stuff to
Mhm.
happen because people make judgments. Like when you mentioned about Jessica, that she was filled with tattoos. I know a lot of people will look at somebody and say, "Oh, they're all full of tattoos." So what does that have to do with who they are and what their personality is? But
Nothing.
we tend
So
to do
this
that.
job networking thing that I work at every 2 weeks, volunteer, um, I had asked if I could bring in a sex trafficking program
Mm,
for an awareness program to just introduce it. And they all looked at me, and it's older. It's an older group of people. The candidates that are coming in and the employees are not, but the people that run it are.
mm.
And they just looked at me like I had 3 heads, and they said, "We don't have that here. We don't, that's in Russia, and that's in China, and that's in
Oh,
other countries." I said, "You are so wrong." And that was, of course, before what's happening in our country politically
right.
happened.
Oh my goodness. It's just amazing. But so do you have any plans to expand your organization, or what's next on the horizon for you? Write a book, do whatever about the subject?
I've been asked to do that many times. I've started that. It's a real time taker, and I don't know. I can't stay focused that long to do that. Um, I don't know. For right now, I'm 73 years old.
Oh my
I
goodness, you don't look
am
it.
trying. Thank you. I usually tell people I'm 83. Don't I look good?
I have that same theory. I am 83, literally.
That's
But
wonderful.
people say, I'm not telling, I have a friend who will not reveal her age,
Yeah.
although we figured it out, but based on some things that she said. But I always figure if I tell people my real age, they might think I look good for 83. If I tell them I'm 73, they'll think, oh man, she's been through a hard life. She looks
Right. But if you
terrible.
say that you're 90, then they'll go, wow, you're
Yeah,
fabulous.
maybe that's what I should start doing, telling them I'm 93. Well, I think you're definitely, one of a prime example of being unsung and unstoppable. But hopefully, maybe having more people hear your story will make you a little more sung than unsung. And we know you're unstoppable, that's for sure.
Very true.
But is there anything else that I missed that you would like to share with the group?
Um, I don't know. Just let's listen to each other. I think that's really important in this time and age and day that we're living in right now. There's way too much diversity going on and too much division. Um, Nobody likes anyone. Everyone's afraid to talk to anybody. I think we just need to get back to the basics of trust and kindness and humility. I don't know. That's really where I'm at.
That's really great. I think that's a perfect way to kind of wrap up this conversation. But I hope everybody will go to your website and just learn more about the great work that you're doing because it's really incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.